One thing I think that's really interesting about the multifamily space when you look at it and you look at some of the historical data is we continue to see rentership growing. That's sort of in a straight line. I think it's possible we could see rentership growing even faster now, given the preferences of some of the millennial and Gen Z generations, as well as retirees who are looking for more of a maintenance-free lifestyle. But can you talk a little bit about kind of rents and what our thesis is on what we're doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at just multifamily in general, over time, rents have consistently grown. In any 3 or 5 year period, you see rental growth increase, which translates into asset value increase, even through the GFC, right? And that's been pretty consistent for a long time. I think, as you know, you've done some of the research on that.
Yeah. What I think what was interesting to me is looking back at rents historically, since really post World War II, rents have grown at a really steady rate of about 3.9% a year over that entire period. And there has never been a period where rents went down over any 3 year period. Like that's really,
Yeah.
So you definitely see spikes in rent like we saw post the sort of COVID period, but and
And they bounce back.
and you sort of see them moderate as you would expect. But again, it's really, really consistent when you smooth it out over any sort of 3 to 5 year period.
Yeah. And one of the benefits of multifamily housing is you're always setting those rents, right? So every month, if you have a little bit of a dip, it'll kind of clean itself out as it comes back up, because every month you're setting rents as leases are terminating, you're bringing in new renters. So you might have a dip at some period, but you're able to bring it up more quickly versus a lot of other commercial real estate, call it office space, right? Those leases are much longer. So it's harder to reset those rental rates once they go down and then trying to get back up. So we've got a definite advantage there in the multifamily space.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting component from an investment perspective. Also, is that when you see rents growing, when rents grow faster, it tends to be when the economy is getting pretty warm, and rates kind of start to go up. But then in a period where rents are starting to soften, usually you see rates come down, which is also
Right.
beneficial to us from a financing perspective. So you have this nice balance between rent and interest rates that sort of move in opposite directions. And it's really one of the reasons why the data shows very consistently that multifamily is one of the best performing and most sort of resilient sectors over time.
Right. And we need housing, right? We have between 3 and 4 million housing shortage in the US, and that's not going to get resolved anytime soon. So that means over time, that tailwind's going to push rent up. And I think about markets. So I'll just use Phoenix as an example, because that's where I've been for the last 25 years. Housing values are now, average home value in Phoenix is $450,000. That's tremendous, right? And that means that someone has to come up with almost $100,000 deposit down payment to buy a home. That's just another tailwind for multifamily housing, and specifically for us as in our Avilla Homes, because if you're given a choice and you can't buy a home because you can't get in the market, would you rather go live in a garden style multifamily, or would you rather live in basically a residential home that gives you all the same benefits without the mortgage? So I think all those tailwinds push even more people towards a villa in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. There's definitely this secular tailwind to the asset class because of this housing shortage that is very prevalent. But in the short term, with rates where they are, we've looked at the data on this too. In most of our markets, it costs about $1,000 a month more to own a house than it does to rent in a villa home. So I think that's something that in the short term is also great for our asset class.